Hey guys, Selective here. I got a personal request to do a deck tag for EDH, and this is the one that I'm playing right now. Just started playing EDH or Commander or whatever you want to call it, like a week or so ago. Got about 10 games in so far. I like my deck pretty much. General is Sedris, the Traitor King, and I'm playing him mostly for his colors because they're, well, blue and black are my favorite colors, but I also want red for other utility and stuff. So that's who I'm playing. This is my basic mana base. I'm playing 37 lands, which might be one or two short, maybe. But playing 4 of each basic. If there's a land to cut, Mountain's by far the first one. For my multi-lands, I've got One Crystal's Catacombs, Rupture Spire, Crumbling Necropolis, Vivid Creek, and Vivid Crag. The Crag should probably be a Vivid Swamp thing. And a Gemstone Mine. I've got each of the duels from Revised. I've got the Shocklands from Ravnica, which I'm hoping those are coming back. And I've got each of the M10 lands for them. I've got Creeping Tar Pit for Manland for blue-black, and Urberg Volcano for another black-red. Thawing Glaciers is probably one of the best fetches that you can play in EDH, and because it's like a slow format, so this really helps. Playing Desolate Lighthouse is just like a good utility. Polluted Delta and Bloodstained Mire for my main fetches, with Rocky Tar Pit and Bad River to back them up. I apparently don't have a Scalding Tarn, but I thought I did. But I'll have to be picking one of those up. Got an Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse to fetch for basics. Mana base has been pretty good. There's a little bit too much red in the mana base for what there is in the actual deck. So if there's something to cut, it's definitely some red mana. So next we will be looking at the main deck. Alright, so for my main deck, starting off with artifacts, I got a Batter Skull. It's alright. Lifelink can sometimes help keep you in the game a little bit longer than you should be. Bloodletter Quill. This thing right here, this has done a lot of work for me. I love this card. And any blue-black deck in EDH, I would definitely be playing this, because 1 life to draw some extra cards is a very low price to pay in a 40 life format. Contagion Engine, it's been kind of eh. But the double proliferate can help when you're playing like Planeswalkers and stuff. So, and Bloodletter Quill, if you need to draw like a whole bunch of cards in one turn and you don't want to spend a lot of mana doing it, those two can work together pretty well. Putting a whole bunch of -1/-1 counters on one player's creatures can also be pretty useful if there's someone playing like a bajillion like 1/1 tokens or something like that. So it's been alright. It's a little bit better in 1v1 than multiplayer, obviously, but another card that it works well with is Eternity Vessel. And the one guy I played with said that this card isn't that good in EDH, but I think it's actually incredible in EDH. Because you start out with 40, if no one attacks you for the first 6 turns and you play this, it's on 40. So, like, they have to be attacking you for the full lethal to like, actually do anything to you. And with, like, a Contagion Engine out, you can actually just keep putting counters on it and then actually gain life. Everflowing Chalice is one of my favorite cards in Magic. Probably one of my favorite new cards, because I'm more of a fan of the older stuff. Like, everything old frame is my favorite, but Everflowing Chalice is definitely amazing. It scales very well. There's some cards in here in the deck that you can use to bounce permanent, so you can bounce it back, to replay it, to get it higher. And it's a perfectly fair card too. So this guy is awesome. Helping you mana ramp in EDH is really awesome. Library of Lang has also done a lot of work, because there's a lot of times where I have a ton of cards in my hand, and this allows you to skip your draws, to skip your discard step, and if you do have to discard, you can discard to the top of your library, or if you need to discard at random, you can actually pick the card. So it's been really useful. It's also a good card to play on turn 1. Lightning Greaves, Commander staple, so it's definitely in there. I don't have as many creatures as most decks, but with the few creatures I have, it's really awesome. Giving Shroud is an excellent ability. Mana Vault, another staple. Just playing that on turn 1 and having 5 mana on turn 2 is just, it can be absolutely game breaking. Losing a life, taking 1 damage every turn isn't bad when you're in a 4 life format as well. Mirari, it's awesome when you're playing a deck that has a lot of spells like mine does, and you can just like copy things like Cruel Ultimatums. And Mirari's got one of my favorite artworks ever. It's just sweet. And Odyssey is the set that I started playing, like actually playing. It's the first booster pack I've ever bought. Phyrexian Metamorph is sweet. You know, cloning an opponent's general to kill it, or cloning something like Mana Vault, just mana ramping yourself to create like crazy high amounts of mana is always awesome. And plus, he can be whatever you need him to be. Platinum Angel, probably another staple. I don't know, it's good. Sometimes you just survive for longer than you should because you have it in play and you're waiting for your opponent to find a way to kill it, and you kill him first. Now moving on to Planeswalkers. One of my favorite Planeswalkers printed, Liliana of the Veil. She's not as great as in Commander as she is in like other constructed formats, like especially Legacy and stuff, but she's awesome. She's got a ton of uses. Her -6 is pretty interesting. She's usually for like other decks that don't play too many creatures, so she's excellent against those. She's also excellent at soaking up damage as well. Sorin Markov. This guy is sweet because he can set your opponents to 10 life, which is a quarter of their starting total. And then you can just like kill him in one shot. His +2's alright. Every now and then people play some small creatures. He helps stabilize. His -7 is probably the best ability on him. So you just like take an opponent's turn, make them kill someone else, make them kill themselves, something like that. Jace Beleren, the Planeswalker that everyone lets live for far too long. You just +2, give everyone a card. They like that. They keep him alive, they don't attack him, you don't draw aggro, you're giving love around, you know, stuff like that. Then you start just drawing a bunch of cards yourself, and eventually someone might kill him. Jace Memory Adept, not the best, but making everyone draw 20 can be nice. Making you and like your buddy draw 20 and not your opponents is nice. You know, he's just pretty good. He's good card advantage. Jace the Mind Sculptor, you know, what is there to say about this guy that hasn't been said already? If you're playing blue in a constructed format where Jace is legal and you're not playing him, you're probably doing something wrong. Tabolt's actually really good. His +1 is a little bit sketchy in EDH because you usually have like a lot of cards you want to keep. But sometimes you just have hands where it's like you don't need anything, you just draw an extra card. His -4 is pretty decent against people that are playing like a whole bunch of draw effects. His -6 is the reason he's in the deck, because gaining control of every single creature in play, you just get to kill everyone at the same time. And, you know, how do you beat that? Necrotic Ooze is probably one of my favorite creatures in Commander, because there's usually a whole bunch of creatures that are dead, and a lot of them have abilities, and this Necrotic Ooze just has them all. I mean, especially like in this deck where you have Arcanus the Omnipotent, sorry. And, you know, you can just tap him to draw 3 cards. Runescarred Demon, tutor with some big legs and flying. You don't get much better than this guy, especially with cards like Capsize being able to be bought back, and Tidespout Tyrant just doing crazy shenanigans. Vampire Nighthawk, basically a kill spell. You know, he's an early drop so you can get some aggro in if you're playing like 1v1. He also holds off like a lot of attackers. Arcanus the Omnipotent. This guy is sweet. I could not fault anyone for playing him as a general because he's just that awesome. 6 mana, 3/4 is not spectacular, but tapping to Ancestral is, and then you can bounce him to your hand, so that makes him awesome with Necrotic Ooze in play if Arcanus is in the graveyard, because you can tap Ooze, draw 3. If they try to kill Ooze, you can just tap 4 mana, return it to your hand. It's pretty sweet. Consecrated Sphinx. Nobody likes playing against this guy because, especially if you're playing in multiplayer, you just get to draw all the cards all the time. Because everyone likes drawing cards. You have a Jace Beleren out, you +1, you get, like, say you're playing against 3 other people, you get to draw 7 cards off this guy. It's pretty nice. Draining Wilk is pretty sweet when everyone's casting, like, gigantic-ass spells, so you just, like, counter one, now you've got this huge dude, they don't have their spell, and then you, like, equip Batterskull, -3 Sorin on someone, and then you kill them. Assuming they don't play a fog. Phantasmal Image is just like Phyrexian Metamorph. It's like a 2-mana kill spell for anyone's general, even if it's like hexproof. So you just get to copy whatever you want, copy a Consecrated Sphinx, you know, a whole bunch of shenanigans. Snapcaster Mage is another card that's excellent in a deck with a whole bunch of spells, which this deck has. You know, he's got Flash, he can be a blocker if necessary. Another card that if you're playing a lot of spells in your deck and you're playing blue, you should probably be playing him or you're probably doing it wrong. Sphinx of Uthun, or Fact or Sphinxian as I like to call it. 7 mana, 5/6, draw like 3 usually, because you get the Fact or Fiction off of it. And so, he's just awesome. Like, card advantage city. Stormcloud Leviathan is sweet when you're playing a deck that also has a lot of flying creatures like mine do. It makes everything an island, so you always have that blue mana if you need it. Played a game against a player playing Rage Conjurer Adept, I think's the name of it, and he just dropped this thing into play. No one else could attack, but I could, because I had what did I have? I had Sphinx out, I had Runescarred Demon, and I had like a Hoarding Dragon, I think. And I was pretty happy with that. Oh, I also had this guy out, Tidespout Tyrant. This guy is absolutely insane. I love him. You get to like bounce all sorts of things, do a whole bunch of shenanigans. You get double chances off your capsizes, buy him back. He just causes all kinds of crazy mayhem, especially with Braids in play, where you just like, well, I'll play a Brainstorm, return my Runescarred Demon, put him into play with Braids, and use Charmbreaker Devils to return that Brainstorm to your hand. It's just awesome. Vendilion Click, pretty staple card. It's basically their like quality control for your hand. You know, take out a really strong card out of an opponent's hand if you think that they're doing crazy things that you don't want them to do. And plus he's pretty aggressive at the 3/1. Charmbreaker Devils. This thing is pretty sweet. Get to return an instant or sorcery at random from your grave to your hand at the beginning of your upkeep. He gets massive if he's unchecked. Especially if you're playing like things like Brainstorms and stuff like that. He can just get absolutely huge and kill people in one shot. But he's mostly here for utility, and he does it very well. Flame Blast Dragon. I'm kind of on the fence about this guy. Like, he's alright, but he's not too terribly great. I'm thinking about taking him out for something that I haven't decided yet. But fireballing something every time you get to attack is pretty sweet. Hoarding Dragon is pretty awesome, because you get to tutor for an artifact. When he dies, you get to put it in your hand. Like, you can play him on turn 5, get an Eternity Vessel, like, just start swinging him at people, make them have to block, and then it dies, you get Eternity Vessel, you play it, and now you've basically invincible until someone can deal you 40 in one shot. You can also get like stuff like Lightning Greaves, Mana Vaults, you know, good stuff like that. Inferno Titan, because he can attack for a ton of damage, kill a whole bunch of tokens in one turn. Especially with like a Lightning Greaves on him, he just gets nuts and out of control. Cavern Harpy. This guy has been sweet. Cavern Harpy, you may know it from the Aloran deck and Legacy, even though that deck's absolutely terrible, so people still play it. But you get to play it, return a blue or black creature you control to your hand, so you can return stuff like Factor Sphinxian, reset Phantasmal Images, get another tutor out of Runescarred Demon, you know, stuff like that. And then you get to pay 1 life and return it to your hand, so you can just keep going insane with that stuff. Evil Twin's been pretty sweet. Like, you can play it as a legend rule, or if your opponent's playing tokens, you can copy a token, you can just keep killing them. It's basically a kill spell that gives you legs, which is really awesome. Nin the Pain Artist is probably one of my favorite cards out of Commander because I just love its ability. It works insanely well with Consecrated Sphinx, like kill your dude, you can draw some cards, but I'm going to draw twice as many cards. And it's also really cheap, it can get in there really quickly to start putting pressure on opponents. If you haven't guessed, I'm always an instigator in multiplayer games, so if I don't end up killing everyone, I'm usually the first one out because I do something that makes someone else angry, they attack me, then everyone starts attacking me. But, you know, I enjoy instigating in multiplayer. So here we move on to the enchantments. Baneful Omen is really awesome. I love this thing. It's been excellent every time I've gotten it. Because it spreads the love around. Everyone takes all the damage. So, especially in Commander where like most decks have a really, really high curve naturally. Because games tend to go long because you have 40 life. So this guy helps kill people pretty quickly. Like once everyone starts getting below 10 life, this guy will kill him in like 2 turns. Enslave, you know, control magic with a bit of life damage on it. Not too bad. It's pretty good. Usually angers people, which I like doing. And, you know, it's a control magic. Like, you gotta play control magic effect, at least one. And Enslave's probably one of the best ones. Phyrexian Arena, probably the best enchantment that you can play in a black deck. You get an extra card for the low cost of 1 life a turn. So you can draw 40 cards off of it before you lose, which is pretty sweet. Curse of Echoes is a card I'm trying, like if there's someone else that plays like a whole bunch of instants or sorceries, you can copy them. So, each other player gets a copy of it actually, so it's another one of those cards that just makes the game crazy. I got a bit of removal, Doomblade. My favorite removal spell is probably Drakes of Sorrow. I'm not sure if you can read the title on that because of the foil. But destroy X target non-black creatures and draw X. That is pretty sweet. Like, you can kill a horde of creatures and draw a bunch of cards. And it's pretty good board wipe. Give it a throw, you know, just like Doomblade, just a standard kill spell. Another card I'm trying is Grim Discovery. Helps you rebuy whichever creature you want. You get fetches back to get more. Pretty good card. Pretty staple card here, increasing ambition. You tutor for 5, and then you flash it back at 8, and you tutor for 2 cards. It's not bad. I mean, especially in like high mana cost games and stuff, where you just can get a whole bunch of cards. Life's Finale. This card has been pretty sweet. I don't own a Damnation right now, so this is basically taking the place of it. So against like creature light decks, it's especially good because you get to take out another 3 creatures from their deck. Plague Wind. If you're playing black in EDH, you should probably be playing this because it kills everything you don't have. So it's kind of like an insurrection, but killing things instead. You know. So you get to play Plague Wind, attack someone. They don't like if they don't have any cards in their hand, you basically are just going to kill them. So it's pretty sweet. Sign in Blood, 2 mana, 2 life for 2 cards. It's a pretty good deal. I'm not ashamed to play this card at all. Playing it in the standard, you know, I love this card. One of my favorites. Like this and Night's Whisper. Blue Sun Zenith, because you need to draw cards. And I need to move this stack over a little bit so you can see them. There we go. You know, Blue Sun Zenith, it's a stroke of genius, but it shuffles back in, so you can't really deck yourself off of it, which is really nice. So you can just keep drawing cards all the time. I like drawing cards, if you haven't guessed. Another card to draw cards, Brainstorm. And with a whole bunch of fetches in your deck, it's really awesome with that. So you draw 3, you know, fetch something, put them back, shuffle. Good card. Capsize. Capsize is sweet. It's like a Tidespout Tyrant without having a fragile body. You get to bounce something, whatever you want, pay 3 more mana, buy it back, cast it again next turn. Like, if someone's stumbling, you can keep them stumbling for the rest of the game, basically. It's good against generals. You can make them keep having to recast them, especially if they're high casting generals and stuff like that, so they can never get their general damage in on you. So no, it's a good all-purpose card. Allows you to reset, like, Eternity Vessels if you gain life and stuff. Counterlash, because you usually have to counter some spells, so you counter the spell, and then you get to play your own, like, spell of the same type. So, like, you counter their Emrakul, even though it can't be countered, you can still target it, and like you could play like your own or something. I haven't gotten to cast it yet, but I'll keep it in until I do and see how it is. Counterspell, because classic counterspell, why not? Factor Fiction, basically the same principle. Like, if you can play Factor Fiction, you should probably be playing it. Force of Will, I got a lot of blue cards in the deck. Sometimes there's spells that you need to counter, sometimes you don't always have mana, and Force of Will does that for you. Gush, basically like Force of Will, except you're drawing cards instead. I haven't really played it for returning the 2 islands yet. I usually have a whole bunch of cards in my hand that I actually just want to pay the 5 mana, like at the end of my opponent's turn, and just draw 5. Stroke of Genius, I've actually killed my one friend with this because I was dead, but I was able to make infinite mana. Well, I really wasn't, but because we read text wrong and stuff, but I'm getting a Soul Ring for this deck, and then I can make infinite mana with Soul Ring, Mana Vault, and Tidespout Tyrant. Like you cast one, tap the other for mana, return it to your hand, play the other one again, tap that for mana. You just cycle infinite mana like that. And then I was able to search out Stroke of Genius and make him draw his deck. But other than that, just a draw X is always good. Bonfire of the Damned. I have not been able to cast this card yet, but I always want to get to like a late game, just miracle it for like a bajillion mana, wipe a field, and kill someone. Cruel Ultimatum, probably one of my favorite spells that I can possibly cast ever. It does everything. It's probably the best spell ever printed for like effect on the game, really. His opponent sacrifices a creature, discards 3, and loses 5 life. And then you gain 5, draw 3 cards, and you get to return a creature from your grave to your hand. What's not to like about that? And I'm also playing the Grixis Charm. It's another good bounce spell. It can kill creatures. If you've got a whole bunch, it can help you Alpha Strike. Terminate, one of my favorite removal spells. Just strictly straight removal. Destroy target creature, can't be regenerated, so they can't really do anything. And the last spell in the deck, which is by far one of my favorites, Shadow of Doubt. Sometimes you can actually just randomly beat people off of this card because of what it does. Players can't search the libraries this turn. Draw a card for the low cost of 2 mana. Like, you just sometimes beat people randomly because they get mana screwed. Like, they fetch out something and you're just like, no. Or they need that removal spell for your dude. They tutor and you just say no, and then you get to draw another card. So, that's my deck. It's a pretty controlling deck. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm trying to see if there's another general I can get for it, but there really aren't any blue, black, and red legendary creatures. Like, it's basically like Sedris, Thraxamundar, which doesn't help me at all because he wants to be attacking a lot. But I'll keep my eyes out for Return to Ravnica. Hopefully they'll print something sweet. Might get a Nicol Bolas Planeswalker for this, because that card seems really sweet, because his ultimate is basically another Cruel Ultimatum. But yeah, that's my commander deck, and I hope you enjoyed watching this. I will definitely update with another one if I make another one, which I haven't decided on, but having a lot of fun with it, and it's a good way to unwind after like a tense Friday night Magic of Type 2. Just sit down, play something silly. Like, the only thing I don't like about Commander is the size of the deck, because, you know, shuffling a deck that big isn't very fun. But other than that, that's what I'm playing, so I'll see you guys later, and peace.